You are watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. Join the Business Heroine community today at businessheroinemagazine.com. And now, tune into the show.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ann Perry, founder of Business Heroine, and today we have a very special interview with our beautiful cover girl, Tanya Lynn. Now, Tanya is an internationally renowned leader in the women's empowerment movement. She's the CEO of Tribal Truth, which is an organization that has impacted thousands of people's lives and businesses all around the world through live and virtual events since 2010. In her own lifelong search for truth and freedom from China to New York, Tanya's learned how to walk her talk and teaches the power of vulnerability and authenticity. She's been facilitating, coaching, and leading groups of people since 2006, including taking people on pilgrimages to Peru. Using her best-selling book, Open Your Heart, How to Be a New Generation Feminine Leader, she's created a 12-week sistership circle for women to connect with their feminine power, build deep, long-lasting relationships with other women, and become feminine leaders. Tanya, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is going to be fun.
Me too. Totally. And so for those of you listening, this is an interview like none we've ever done before. We are actually doing a two-part interview because this is all about mompreneurship and mamas and babies and business and how all of it intersects. So, and you may know Tanya already from our Mompreneur column. Tanya's been interviewing amazing mompreneurs and asking how you do it and how do you do the life balance and how does it change business, how does it change life, all of that. So I can't wait to talk to you personally and hear your story. And so Tanya is pregnant right now, and baby is not here yet, and part 2 of this interview is going to be when she has her baby. Let's see the beautiful belly.
Okay, here we go. Here it is.
Oh my goodness, there's a human in there.
Yeah.
So you have a really miraculous story of how you got pregnant. Can we start there? I want to hear this.
Yeah, so let's start with first, I am 36 weeks pregnant, so I've got 4 more weeks till full term. She's due March 6th, and I cannot wait. I love just the whole, pregnancy is like so amazing, and you have no idea how amazing it is until you're actually in it, because you hear of moms who, I just love being pregnant, and I get it. So in June of 2013, I was putting on a retreat, and one of the women who was going to be at the retreat came over for lunch, and she basically wanted to connect with me and had me enroll her in attending. And we got into this conversation about my ex-boyfriend who didn't want to have children, and I was an I don't know. And she said to me, she was 50, and she said, you have to get off the fence. And that was my biggest regret, is not having children, but going into a marriage where he was a no and I was an I don't know, and I never felt like I had my full choice. And I said, in that moment, I was like, okay, yes, I'm a yes to becoming a mother. And it just totally terrified me because I had a lot of fears around it and just a lot of, doubt. And so that week, I met 2 healers. One, we did some work and we discovered these incidences from my childhood with all the same pattern, where 5 years old, one of my classmates died, and it's just complete numbness. And then when I was in Japan teaching English in just a few years ago, what was that? So, a couple years ago, like 10 years ago.
It feels like that. Time goes by fast.
I had a 4-year-old, my friend's 4-year-old died, freak accident, and then one of my students, 12 years old, died, exact same numbness. Wow. And so we were able to, in that healing session, unblock the numbness And I actually felt the mourning for all three of those children and really saw how I was terrified that I would not be able to protect a child in this world. And so I was like, no way, I don't even want to go there. And then there was this whole thing with my mom of I didn't want to be like my mother and give up my purpose. I'm a woman who's out there to make a difference in the world. And I felt like that was the end of freedom, having children. I would have to give everything up. And I was just like, I'm very independent. I don't want to be like my mother. Mm-hmm. And so then the other healer ended up becoming my mentor for about a year. And he took me through a process of healing my mother wound and healing my father wound. And so we were just wrapping up father wound, and I met my partner. And I was also putting together the stage performance. I was producing the stage performance, and I had a 10-minute piece in it. And so what came through was the story around healing the mother wound. And so it was my resistance to becoming a mother. And then at the end of the performance, I'm arms open to the audience saying, I'm ready. Wow. A week prior to that, I conceived.
But you didn't know?
And I kind of had a inkling. I had an intuitive hit. And in that moment of conceiving, it was almost like I felt like I was in a tunnel. And I was like, whoa, I think that was it. And it was this kind of, he didn't pull out, and he always does. And it's just this kind of weird thing. And he said, do you want to take the morning after pill the next day? And I said, no, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Are you okay with that? And he's like, yeah. We were only together for 3.5 months at that point.
Wow.
And so we kind of knew that was in our future, but we were thinking like a year out. And in Sistership Circle, I had been talking about, like, I was really feeling that call to become a mother. Like every single session, I would turn it, my share would always be about motherhood. So I said to the girls the day before the performance, I think I might be pregnant. There's a chance. I'm like 2 days late on my period now, never late. And then sure enough, so that was Saturday night, the performance, and then Tuesday I took the test and I was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just so crazy. And I really got clear that, these souls choose us. And this has been a huge lesson for me during the pregnancy, is that there's nothing that I can do wrong, and that I'm perfect exactly how I am. A lot of mothers experience so much guilt. So like my whole guilt thing was around, I'm eating too much sugar. Like I'm going to hurt her by eating so much sugar. And I have to constantly be reminding myself, and my midwife does too, Tanya, she chose you with all of your imperfections, including your sugar addiction. And so that's been like a huge thing of like, wow, I just published this book in March, all about feminine leadership, all about the new generation, the next 7 generations. And then I'm pregnant 3 months later with a girl.
Yeah.
So really powerful. And so I hope to give women hope. Couple things is, number one, like, and I think we'll talk about this, is you don't have to give up your purpose. And I got really clear that my purpose and the work I do in the world is integrated with me having a child. Like my whole thing is creating new feminine leaders for the next, what are we doing for the next 7 generations? So it makes sense for me to now have one of those girls and to be connected and have that, my own lineage of 7 generations, right? So I really got that it's all connected and all integrated. So there is no separation between my work in the world will continue and can continue.
Yeah.
And that my daughter will be part of all of it in some way. I mean, she always has a choice. And just a real quick little thing around this whole, like, I was so afraid that I would have to protect my child and I wouldn't be able to. I just held a retreat for the facilitators for Sistership Circle. And we had this, there was a breakdown. One of the women was crying, and it was really intense emotionally. And she starts kicking in my belly, and I start contracting in Braxton Hicks, and I thought, I need to leave the room. I have to protect her from this.
Mm.
And then immediately the second thought was, she chose me, she chose this. She's part of this right now. What am I really needing to protect her from? She's safe. And really, I want to teach her full acceptance of our emotions as women, and that it's okay to have this complete emotional breakdown. That's totally fine. And it opened up so much for the whole room when I shared that that was what I was experiencing. And, so there's just so many lessons that I've been getting. I can go on and on, but really like this, she's safe. She chose me. Like there's this whole letting go piece that's been really profound for me around like, I'm not in control. It's this, the feminine is about surrender, and I'm learning that on a whole new level with this baby girl.
Yeah, so much there. And we could just, I feel like we could go on for like all day talking about this. I have so much that I want to learn from you personally too. So one of the things that you shared was that you were concerned about, I'll lose my purpose if I have a child. And I'm curious, and you talked about how it's all interwoven, and, having your baby girl is part of your purpose and all of that. But I'm curious, how has pregnancy changed your perception of business?
Yeah, well, it's this, I don't have to do it all. And especially when I think of my business, it's like, okay, so Sistership Circle is really where it's at for me. And so I've, from day one, setting up the structure so that I'm not leading the circles. And I'm training the facilitators. And how do I simplify the whole process and allow myself to be removed from the whole thing? So it was like the structure of the circles being duplicatable, the training. So my focus on this facilitator training, but then even setting it up that there's a train the trainer piece, so that I don't even have to lead that. And so it's like, I am just thinking like, how do I still be part of it, but that I can remove myself? So I'm just thinking in terms of sustainability.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how I had a better year this year during my pregnancy, working less than the previous year, and I made more money in 2014.
I want to talk about that. That is amazing. And because as you were sharing, we learn about systems, and we should streamline and systemize and all that stuff. And there's probably nothing like the deadline of a baby, like this baby's coming, to spur that into action. So it's amazing because instead of all of a sudden being more, I guess for lack of a better word, burdened or full, having a full schedule, I have a business and a baby now. Instead, you use that to strategically look at, how can I have my business run without me, work less, and then that does allow the business to grow, because you're basically building, when you build a model that is systemized, it also makes it expandable and scalable. So that's amazing. So you really had the best year of your business being when you were pregnant. That's awesome.
Yeah. And also a lot of, one little thing is your second trimester is one of the most potent, creative times of your life. First trimester is like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. But second trimester, you get this energy and you're in a creative flow. And, I interviewed Hillary Rubin, same thing. She had her biggest business breakthrough while she was pregnant. Biggest launch was during second trimester, and I have heard other women as well. And so for me, we did the big Sistership Circle launch during my second trimester. And then there's the other piece of, I'm setting up now to have the support. And I'm coming from this model of, it takes a tribe to raise a child. It takes a village, right? So it's, how can I involve the sisters, and how can I involve my community as much as possible in my experience of being pregnant, so that they feel invested to support when the baby's here, and they feel like aunts and uncles. I've shared really vulnerably and shared my process and my journey on Facebook, so people feel like they're part of it. I had a reveal party for the gender and invited everyone over, and then had a blessing way and two baby showers. So it's just like really having people feel included and feel like they're aunts and uncles of this baby. And so it's like everything I'm thinking in terms of like setting everything up, right? So I have support. I'm not about doing this alone. I'm in multiple groups on Facebook, like, of moms and pregnant women who are entrepreneurs. So it's just like thinking and everything, every action I'm taking, it's how do I set myself up to win and continue my work. And a key piece to that was really learning how to slow down and honor the days when I had no energy to work. None. Like, it was like I had to be in bed all day long. And that's, you kind of go through these waves depending on how the baby's growing. And your heart is at one point like pumping 3 times the amount of blood that it normally does. So you're exhausted. And I always honored that, and it was like, it's okay, it'll get done tomorrow.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so I'm super curious. So we're 4 weeks away. I'm so excited. Do you have any fears, lingering fears? And also I'm curious what you're most excited about.
I think every woman has fears around the birth because you have no idea how it's going to feel. And I'm doing a home birth, so I'm not being medicated. And so I took 10 days of silent meditation a few weeks ago for me to sit with that fear and for me to actually sit with and really observe the sensations in my body. So I'm feeling wide open in terms of being able to feel unconditionally this birth. I had a lot of fear around breastfeeding. I've heard that it's actually not that natural. Tomorrow I'm going to La Leche League to go to a breastfeeding class. And I'm finding that I'm not so much worried about that because I'm like, no, I have so many mamas around me who can totally help me. And now I'm going to go to this organization so that I feel comfortable in going there if the baby has a problem latching, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm feeling, and I have no experience with babies. I have none. But I'm not feeling any fear right now. I'm feeling wide open and I'm feeling ready. What I'm most excited about, I'm most excited about the surprise. I have no idea what she looks like.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Isn't that amazing?
And, it's such a, oh God, it's just being able, I've just heard that your heart expands and you've never experienced love the way you do when your child comes into this world. And I think that's what I'm most excited about. My whole thing is about opening my heart. That's been my path for the past 2 years. So I have such great capacity to feel, and I'm just so excited to step into a whole new level of love, compassion, and patience, and surrender. It's like a whole new embodiment of feminine leadership, really.
Yeah. It's amazing. She looks like what she looks like right now. She's just hidden. It's amazing, just from plain view. So, okay, well, I can't wait to find out, for part 2 of this interview, which is yet to be recorded. Before I let you go for today, though, do you have any, now being at the end of your pregnancy, you haven't given birth yet, but you're at the end of your pregnancy, do you have any advice for the business heroines out there who are either newly pregnant or wanting to get pregnant?
The declaration. Make the declaration that you're a yes, despite all fears and despite not knowing a how or anything. And then do the work on yourself around your own mother wound. I think we all carry something from our own mothers, and I think that is so critical. And there's this piece that's come through and was really powerful. My blessing way is that I'm coming into motherhood whole. whole and complete. So I've done my work. So I think that's the biggest thing is if you're wanting to get pregnant, you doing your work. So many women have trouble getting pregnant, I think, because there's some kind of emotional, mental, or spiritual block. There's something that might need to be healed to then have it just happen. Like for me, first time ever trying, and we weren't even trying, I get pregnant, you know? So it literally can be that easy. And I always, through my healing process, I knew it would be easy for me to get pregnant. I never had the thought. I have a couple friends who are like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to get pregnant. And I never had that thought. So does that answer?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got pregnant like not too long after you made the declaration for yes, right?
It was a year.
A year.
And exactly a year. And here's a big thing is I always thought, well, I'm going to need to be in a relationship for a year and then I'm going to have to get married.
Oh, right.
And
like this timeline thing.
When you find the right person and we were so in alignment, like it's been beautiful to have this be the unfolding of our relationship. I've made it wrong at times, right? Because I didn't actually have all that time with him. Just me and him, and he's been in acceptance of that. So I've had to learn from him how to accept reality as it is. This is our relationship. This is my life. And that's been huge. But that, you know, really, I'm hoping to give women hope. Like, you don't need to be, you know, in this 2 or 3 or 4 year relationship before you get pregnant. You know, I'm 35 the March 2nd, so right before my baby's due. So, you know, it's like I feel like we have time and it could happen just like that, you know. Possibilities sometimes aren't so, you know, it's like a quantum leap, really. Yeah.
Love it. And so many themes you shared: surrender and open heart and healing and all of this. Well, I can't wait for our next conversation, which will be post-baby, and I can't wait to see pictures and see this beautiful little girl. Tanya, thank you so much, first of all, for interviewing all the mompreneurs and being that so for that voice for Business Heroine magazine. Second, thank you so much for making the cover of our magazine so beautiful with your gorgeous pregnant body. And just thanks for everything you're doing in the world.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, my honor. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
All right. And part 2 coming on up. Hello and welcome back. We are here for part 2 with our interview with Mompreneur Tanya. So tell us, we got to hear all about your pregnancy and the story of that, and also your business lessons that you learned through pregnancy and preparing to be a mother. And now here you are, you're a mother, Callie is born, and I would love to hear the wisdom that you've discovered for yourself and just your path going through on the other side. Let's start with your birth. Like, how did that go? I know that was the one thing you said that you were nervous about.
Yeah, so I delivered on March 11th, 4:27 p.m. Callie came out as 9.1 pounds. Huge.
Yeah.
Bigger than expected, and thank God I didn't know that. But my labor was 24 hours, and it was the most empowering experience of my life because it was the most difficult. And what I've heard is that a lot of women in their birth will really discover their power and their strength, and that they'll find what their edge is and have to go over it. And that's exactly what happened. Is here I am thinking, oh, my birth's going to be a breeze in a way, you know, because I've done all this work on myself. And it was like, no, I did all this work on myself to really meet what that edge is of mine and go over it. And so there was a point the morning of the day that I delivered, and I was like, I'm done. Take me into the hospital, cut me open. I give up. And my partner, Brent, said, nope, you're not going. And he stood for me. He was my Rock of Gibraltar, which was our intention of who he would be for me. And he did. And so it was really amazing for me to know who he will be who he will be for me at my darkest hour. Mm-hmm. And it just really solidified the relationship like a whole new level. I mean, we're solid, but it's just like that much deeper. And the other really amazing thing was that I invited my mother and my sister-in-law to be at the birth. Intuitively, I just felt like they both needed to be there. So my sister-in-law is a new doula, and so she supported me as a doula. And my mom was just incredible. I mean, her and Brent were like just so present, such rocks. And so at that point when I wanted to give up, my midwife said to me, "You have the exact same condition as what your mom had with you. And so you have an opportunity to rewrite your family history." And so what had happened is Callie was posterior and she was really low. So the pressure was having the front of my cervix swell. So I was stalled about halfway at a 5. And so it was at that moment, I don't know, it was almost like a miracle happened. But when I decided that I was just going to go contraction by contraction and hour by hour to see how much we were going to progress before making that decision to go transport to the hospital, it was like all of a sudden I'm at a 10. It was so incredible and such a moment of like learning how to trust and surrender and let go and just believe in myself. And it was like I just put all of my determination of like I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I'm at a 10 and she's like, "Okay, push." And I'm like, what do you mean? It was like 24 hours and then 6 pushes and she was out. And Brent caught her, which was the most amazing experience of his life. He burst into tears and had this, I mean, she literally came sliding out onto his chest and he's just like, "Oh my God." And that was our other intention, is that he would be the first to hold her. And he did. And it was just so precious. So that was my birth story. And it was really difficult, but I wouldn't take back any of it. I would do it all over again exactly as it was. Mm-hmm. And so for the first 2 weeks, I really struggled. I don't know if it was postpartum depression. I mean, I feel like I have such a high level of awareness that I was able to call it out versus getting stuck in it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it was baby blues or depression. But I was a mess and I just called in the troops. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I have received is asking for support and no shame at all. And I literally put up the white flags and I'm like, "People help." Mm-hmm. Like I can't help myself. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing as self-care right now. Mm. I need to be cared for. Mm. And I mean, my blood was low. I had stitches. I could barely walk. I was so depleted and I had lost all my weight like immediately. Uh-huh. And if anything, my midwife's like, "You're a little too skinny." Uh-huh. So all the friends came in. I mean, everyone, I had meals every day. I had people that second week, I had someone at the house giving me a healing session every day. I had Chinese herbs. I had people bringing me bone broth. I mean, everything. And from me completely receiving the support that I needed, it was a quick turnaround. Mm. And I really attribute it to me getting out of my own way. And I think this is why so many women struggle with the depression. It's like you're not expecting it at all. And then you get stuck in it and you feel ashamed of like there's something wrong with me, versus asking for your friends and family for the support that you need. Wow. And just being like, "I can't do anything right now. I need people to come and do everything for me." Mm-hmm. And it was also really good that I have a partner who works at home, who is always there and who is really available. So I actually have some advice that I'd love to give.
Yeah. I want to just reflect back and kind of pull out these nuggets. So, I mean, and I was about to ask you for your advice because there's your partner who was totally there as a rock. There was your sister and your mom your sister-in-law and your mom who you called in as support, and you had the opportunity to basically rewrite your family history and go through this. I mean, there's so many parallels to life in what you shared, and so many parallels to business. It's like the pushing all the growth so that you can, it's not like wishing for something to be easy. It's wishing that you can handle whatever is brought to you, or, that going to your edge and going beyond your edge. And then this piece about asking for help. And I haven't ever heard it phrased that way, where it's like, I need some help. It's like, I can't do anything. I need everything to be done for me. That's such a huge ask, and so powerful. So tell us, what is your advice about what you learned there?
The first thing is, the first 4 to 5 days, the only thing I could do was nurse. So literally, I would go in the chair, I would have someone bring me the baby, I would nurse, and I would give the baby to whoever. So my mother-in-law was there, and then Brent. That's my number one advice, is those first at least like 2 days to really limit your activity to just nursing. That way, the dad, can have bonding time. And it was so amazing that I couldn't get in the way of him having that time with her. So he got to do everything, and he loved it, and he got to fall in love with her and connect with her and feel like, wow, so I've heard this so many times of like, do not shut him out. Do not think that he can't do anything. Like, allow him to contribute. And so I was forced to do that. So that would be my number one advice. Literally don't do anything. Then the second thing is, I've created this first 40 days. And so for the first 40 days, the idea is that you don't do anything. You don't cook, you don't clean, you don't leave the house for 40 days. And I stuck by that. I'm right now, as we're talking, I'm at 5 weeks. So I'm almost at the 40 days, and I've been very strict with that. Is that
something that you created for yourself, or you heard about?
So I've heard about it, and then my friend actually started a business, and she supported and organized the whole thing for me. And then it's an Ayurvedic tradition, so it's an Indian tradition. Also, the Chinese do it as well, and I highly recommend it. So we had my mother-in-law come for the first 4 days, so she was able to just handle everything. I had meals coming. I had people sign up for cleaning. The only thing that I would have rather have done is set up that we had cleaning the first couple days, because the house was a disaster because we did a home birth.
Right.
And Brent didn't have the time to clean up. And so it was we were living in chaos, and it was a lot. And we didn't have scheduled cleaning help till the next week. And so that was the one thing. And then I dove into a lot of Ayurvedic foods that were warming and specifically for postpartum, and that really helped. A lot of things, and just like blood building and trying to stay off my feet, and just being served, these really delicious Ayurvedic meals that were just amazing. So that would be my advice, is just really limiting and just not doing anything. And because I did that, I'm actually able to start this week. I started my next circles for Sistership Circle. And
is this your first week then back into business? And
and so I was filling those programs, which just magically happened. I really didn't need to do much effort. So we started this week, and I just feel so much like grace and ease around it. And Brent's there, so I have it arranged that, she's taken care of while I'm running these circles. And so I've been discerning of like, this is all I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like easing back into it. And then in the summer, I'm going to be doing our next facilitator training program.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm spacing it out. And what's amazing is, like I said from the other interview, the pregnancy, I set everything up. So my facilitators who just completed their training are now filling their circles. And there's very little that I really need to do. I support them, but they're also supporting each other. So I've set up everything that everything's still going with or without me, which is amazing. And so I just want to share this piece as well we had our huge potluck as, to help bring more women into the new circles that the new facilitators are doing. And someone came out to me afterwards and she's like, I just want to reflect that it feels like royalty. And I feel like you stepped into queen.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's the transformation that I feel like happened for me, is because I had to ask for the support. And it's like I had the whole community supporting me, and I was able to ask and receive, and I feel the shift.
Yeah.
I have nothing in the way of me now being able to ask for help.
I love that. It's funny that you said that about royalty, because I was actually thinking that as you were speaking, I was thinking it feels like a queen, and it's just like receiving this 40 days of doing nothing. You're actually doing a lot, which is just receiving, graciously receiving and allowing your people and your community to honor you and nurture you. And what a beautiful way to approach motherhood, right? Like, what a beautiful way to honor the mothers of our world. I love that. It's so beautiful. Yeah. So,
and I'm gonna write a guide, kind of a pre and post guide for new moms, for new mompreneurs, writing all this out. And I'm also going to write a guide for etiquette of how to best support. Because here's the thing, I felt like, oh my God, I had no idea what I was doing with my friends who had their babies, and I was just so in the dark. Like, I didn't know how to fully support them. I'm like, oh my God, I was such an idiot, It was like all about me coming and meeting the baby, and I didn't even offer to help with anything because I didn't get it. So I really want to write that for moms to be able to give to their community and say, here's from someone, like, this is how you support me.
Brilliant. Thank you for doing that for all the moms out there. I love it. And I can't wait to, so as you know, you watching, Tanya does our Mompreneur column and interviews other mompreneurs. And so I know that, you have an infant right now, 5 weeks, you said. And so as the year progresses, I can't wait to hear other pieces of your story coming out in those interviews too. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we have that. It's like the story gets to continue. So, and I know that you're just jumping into business this week. I'm curious what business lessons we can extract, because I'm a business geek and I can't help it. But on a couple levels, like one, it just feels like there's metaphors for how you approached your birth and after your birth that actually can apply to other areas of life and business. And then two, just literally, I guess, what you shared about setting up your business, setting up the space before and after the birth to support your business. But is there anything that has come through for you around running a business or having gone through this experience?
Yeah, and when you said, like, that I had to receive for 40 days, what I also got is, yes, I was receiving, but I was 100% giving to my baby. And that's one of the big lessons that I got, is how to be fully present when I'm with her. Like, when I'm nursing, I'm not on the phone. I am focused on her and being totally with her as she's nursing, right? So now I'm learning, like, how to just be totally present with whatever task I'm doing. And Denise actually says this, Denise DT, who's the April interview. for the Mompreneur column. She said, I was able to step into CEO. That's how I'm feeling. Is now I can be fully present with her. I've got very limited amount of time, and I have to be very discerning about what I'm saying yes to and what like task is on hand. So I'm fully present of like, okay, I've got an hour right now. I got to get this done. There's no dilly-dallying. There's no procrastination. So I'm able to be much more on task and much more focused because I've shrunk the time. And I think it's Tim Ferriss talks about this in the 4-Hour Work Week of, we work really well on deadlines. And when we take away like all the time, we actually get on task and we get things done. And so that's been a huge, just in the past couple weeks of me, starting to be back on the computer. It's like, okay, she's napping. I got to make sure, I get a nap in as well as get whatever task I want to get done. And it's like laser focused.
That, like anything that's so interesting. Yeah. Wow.
And the other thing I've gotten, so for me to support my leaders, I'm now using Voxer.
Love Voxer.
It's so awesome because they can say, hey, I've got, here's what's up for me. And then I know that they left me a voicemail. And then at my convenience, I can say, hey, here's what I think you should do, or here's my coaching.
Yeah.
And it's like so awesome because now I can support my whole team. And it's like at my convenience. I don't need to schedule calls with them. It's like boom, boom, boom. We're going back and forth. And it's really awesome. So just finding tools that can support me not necessarily being able to be on a strict, like, I got to make a 3 o'clock call. Because sometimes Callie's got to eat, So, yeah.
I love it. Wow. Well, it feels so good to connect with you. I've been thinking about you so much and looking forward to this part 2 of our interview, getting to hear about the birth and to just see your glowing, beautiful mama face. And like I said, I'm so glad that you are our leader in the Mompreneur column and interviewing all these awesome moms. And there's just so much to learn about motherhood and about business. And even if for those listeners who aren't a mom, I'm not a mom yet, but what you shared about just trimming the fat and focusing your time, and it's kind of like just all of those things of when there's something in our life that's really important and cutting to the chase and getting things done so that you can have the life that you want. And, all of it is just so helpful for all of the entrepreneurs out there and mompreneurs and business heroines. So,
and then the other thing would be letting go of all expectations and being able to flow. And so it's like this constant letting go process of, okay, so now she woke up earlier than expected to feed, and now I've got to change gears, and so it's like I'm learning how to just constantly let go of my expectations. And it's even with, with a launch, and I've heard this from like Hillary Rubin, it's like, okay, I'm going to go make these launches happen, and then they get pushed back like a month or 2, because that's the reality is things slow down quite a bit. And it's like, oh, you know what? It's fine. It's perfect. So it's like letting go of a lot of that tight control that I think some of us have.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for all of your wisdom and for all of your participation in Business Heroine. We just adore you, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
You have been watching Business Heroine TV for the entrepreneur who says she will and does. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out what's new at businessheroinemagazine.com today.